Hello, this is Jennifer Gormer. I am the chair of the Black Homeownership Council with the Broker Action Coalition, and I have the privilege of introducing the infamous, the famous, the star at EPM, Mr. Kenny Phillips, the CSO, who is a great partner with us in the work that we're doing. Kenny, welcome.
Wow, what an intro. You make me feel special, huh? Intimate. Wow.
You are,
That's the
you
first.
are.
That's the first, but I love it. Make me feel warm and welcome coming in there. Even though it's cold in New England, I feel welcome. So thank you.
Oh gosh, it's cold here in Texas too. So
Good.
we're yeah.
Interesting.
Probably
Oh,
not the same cold, but we do have the same missions and visions, and we're serving the same people. So great tee up there.
yeah.
Welcome to the show. We want to just have a conversation today about the mission of the Broker Action Coalition, specifically the Black Homeownership Council, of which I'm the chair, and the work that we're doing to help consumers. So I have just a few topics I want to talk about. I really want this to be very natural. I know you're very involved. I'm very involved. Ultimately, I'd like for this to be a resource for our consumers who are looking to buy a home.
I
Ready
love
to
it.
go? Awesome.
Absolutely. Love it.
All right. Well, let's talk about the back. So, the Broker Action Coalition, we are an association, we're a nonprofit. And our goal, simply put, is to help consumers who are wanting to buy a home, to become a first time home buyer, second time, third time, but also to make the process simple and easy, remove some of that red tape. We're in the trenches doing that work. And specifically, I know EPM is in that same field, doing the work, helping consumers to buy homes. So I want to start there. What are some of the things that EPM is currently and looking forward to 2026? What are some of the things that you guys are doing to help more consumers to become homeowners?
Well, first of all, congratulations. You guys are doing a hell of a job at the back. The
Thank
trigger
you.
lead bill, the disabled veteran bill, just amazing work. And it's always great to partnership with you guys and see that you guys actually bring things to the Capitol, get them done, and then put people in borrowers in a better position to get home to put them in home. So congratulations to you guys first and foremost there.
Thank you.
Secondly, as an organization, it's just our goal to make sure that we put all people in homes, not just specific people and specific nationalities and things of that nature. We, as an executive team, probably one of the most diverse executive teams in the industry, if I must say.
Yes.
You know, Eddie's of Cuban descent. I'm African American. Phil Mancuso is our president, Italian. Frank Rossi, who's our chief credit officer, is Persian, and chief operating officer from Scotland. So this wasn't a DEI purposely done. It was really about meritocracy, and Eddie formulated a team that meets the needs of the people. And I think we do a great job in diversity and make sure we got the right people in the right position to win. With that being said, we also have a responsibility to the community to make sure that we put, like I said earlier, put people in homes. We know that, white Americans probably represent about 60% of the population, but 70% of the purchasing power when it comes to homes. And to your point, the minorities in Black America, we're about 12% of the population, probably about 8% are buying homes. So we're a little bit off in the percentages, right? They have more
That's right.
people, more ownership. We have, less people, but we also have less in our population. So we got some
That's right.
growing to do.
Absolutely.
So as an
Absolutely.
organization, we make sure that we offer every type of loan, every type of borrower. We don't
Mhm.
put restrictions on our guidelines. So if you have a 500 FICO score or a 600 FICO score or a 700 FICO score, we give you that access to capital and home
That's
ownership.
right.
Where a lot of people will shorten that runway of FICO scores, where they only
Yes.
deal with certain type of people, higher qualified borrowers, right?
Hmm.
And where I come from, personally, I was born in the projects, right? We didn't have
Hmm.
access to financial literacy. We was kind of the get by,
Hmm.
paycheck to paycheck. Credit wasn't important, right? We
Yeah.
paid cash.
Yeah.
So you don't come from the background of established credit, established wealth, buy a house, white picket fence, move on, and we're just starting to get that knowledge base now. So
Yeah.
it's our job here as a lender to make sure the consumers, one, are aware that they do have access to capital.
Yes.
Two is you don't need to have a perfect credit score
That's
or
right.
30 years on the job. You need 2 years, in some instances, 12 months. So
Hmm.
education is everything. And
That's right.
making sure that we do business with people that look like them also.
That's right.
So partnership, bringing on brokers that are also minority based.
Hmm.
So we try to do our part to make sure that we give back, and it's not about profitability. All it's all about people.
That's right. No, and I love a couple things I want to kind of dive into. I've heard Eddie speak and meritocracy, how important it is, and obviously have a well diverse leadership team. And I do. I love your leadership team. With that, you said a few things. I'm from Kansas City, Missouri. Go Chiefs!
Dolphin fan. Even though I live in New England, I'm a Dolphin fan. So we're struggling. We're on the struggle bus a little bit this year.
Yeah, just a bit. But same thing. I was the first person in my family, first generation, to buy a home. And so same thing, my family traditionally paid cash everything. The word capital, what does that mean? It just felt out of reach, to purchase a home. And I remember being in my 20s and buying my first home and the first person in my family, and it changes the trajectory of that family. Soon after that came my mom, and then following after us, the rest of our family. And so I think it's so important, one, to have the education, but two, credit, having access to capital. Again, you don't need 20% to buy a house, right? That goes into that education and being available and having a loan for everyone. I think at the back, we're very, very passionate to make sure that every type of homeowner has access to capital. So you hit that on the nail. And that's part of what we're doing here, is partnering with lenders like EPM to make sure that there's no borrower left behind.
Absolutely.
So with that, I want to talk about, so specifically as the chair of the Black Homeownership Council, you mentioned obviously the diversity in the gap in homeownership. We know that there is a 32% gap among African Americans who own homes and Anglos. And so that's a gap that we're passionate about closing, one borrower at a time, one closing at a time. And that's something that we do take to Capitol Hill. I want to talk about the two things that we know that are hindering African Americans from purchasing homes. We know it's two things. The data shows us, obviously you hit it on the nails, lack of education in credit and in finances. But number two is access to capital. And EPM has a fantastic down payment assistance program. Could you talk to us a little bit? I know there's been some recent changes. Can you talk to us about, and give us the name, so for the people who don't know, tell us a little bit about that down payment assistance program that gives access to capital to borrowers who are trying to buy a home.
Yeah, so we had a 100% down payment assistance program where we would give you basically a free down payment for a loan. It's probably one of the only ones out there. We also have a down payment assistance that gives you that gives you a better interest rate. So the idea behind this, and I sit back and think about when my father bought his first house in 1981, and he called his brother up for a couple of $1,000s for a loan.
That's right.
Because one, these programs weren't available, right? Mm-hmm. Two, would they give him credit if he needed the credit? Probably not. But we got to look for the future of the American society and make sure that these guys don't have to go and get personal loans. There is financing available at low interest rates to get you in the homes if you qualify. And then the qualifications are minimal compared to some of the loans out there. So we look, through Phil Mancuso, through Frank Rossi, they kind of scour the industry, scour the market to see, what are the low entries to kind of reduce that barrier entry for borrowers and also be safe in a loan that's going to actually perform. Because that's important too, right? We want to put you in a home, but we also got to make sure the loan performs.
That's
so
right.
Qualifications maybe not as high, but credit risk we still got to look at credit risk. And we continue to look at these things. We make adjustments and tweak to these DPA programs because we do know they're important. We don't want to, get rid of them in total, because we do think that, guess what, that borrower in 12 months, that borrower in 24 months is going to be the next great borrower at 680 FICO score who may not need the cash and capital out there, and give them more access to financial freedom, cash out.
That's right.
Put the kids through school, buy cars, do the things that Americans do, and
That's
not,
right.
Not the people that come from where I come from originally, where they just look week to week, month to month, check to check,
That's right.
gain equity, tap into
That's
equity. Right. And that starts with the first purchase.
Absolutely. You said a couple of things here, and you're right. Just going to your family, and buying your grandfather's first home, and having to go to a family member because they probably kind of walked into a bank to get a loan. And I think that, again, that is the purpose of the back. We are here to support brokers, and being a broker, an independent mortgage broker, means that we have more options to give our customers, that our customers and our consumers are not just limited to just going to a bank. As a broker, we are able to partner with 150 different lenders across this country. And our job is to find the very best loan and the very best product for our customers. That's what we're here to do at the Broker Action Coalition. And so I think you hit that on the nail. It's looking back. I firmly believe you can't know where you're going until you know where you've been. And your family's experience is my family's experience. My family couldn't go to the bank, and get a loan. And so they had to, pull funds together and help each other. But I also think that's the same is true now. So let's talk about affordability. Because ultimately it comes down to buying a home is more than just buying the home one time and you're done, right? So you hinted at, refinancing and building their equity and building their net worth. But I want to dig into affordability because as the chair of the Black Homeownership Council, that's one of the things that we're charged with is we're looking at affordability, how to make affordability easier for consumers to get qualified. And one of the things that we do know, specifically for our customers, is this whole concept of manual underwriting. Not all lenders will do a manual underwrite. And a lot of our African-American consumers who are purchasing a home in the process, they fall within that box. And EPM, I think, is the star of the show when it comes to manual underwrites. Let's talk about that. What have you done? What has EPM done to be sure to allow borrowers who do fall into that manual underwrite still have the opportunity, like you said, to have down payment assistance, but more importantly, that they can have a manual loan underwritten? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, well, a manual underwrite is just something that just fits right outside the box, Jen.
That's right.
Usually with a manual underwrite, there's more stringent guidelines behind it. So you'd be surprised at what they have to qualify, whether it's reserves, things of that nature that help them qualify. So it's not a bad loan. It's just that it doesn't fit in the traditional sense. I think it's more about the educational piece too. It's talking about getting co-signs, co-borrowers, co-applicants, things like that can help them borrow. Everyone thinks that they have to get approved by themselves. Do I qualify a loan? As we talked about home ownership, right? People living together as far as occupying a property together for African Americans are going up, but home ownership isn't. So if you're living with people, why not have a co-applicant, a co-borrower, household income, things of that nature? That's what I talk about the education portion of it. You're already living together, right? That's increasing. Renting is increasing. People with families and out. So it's just giving that education and then see if they qualify. Most people don't know what a mortgage broker is. They still think that you have to go to a bank to get a mortgage.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate because it's not true. And then your greatest opportunities with a mortgage broker because you have the ability to go out and find the best deal and the best program for an individual. So like I said, continue not to be the dead horse on the education. That's the most important part. And then put it in their hands and then coming to companies like us who can help them get qualified and have programs available where they can qualify, like a manual underwriter or a DPA. And,
that's right.
And the biggest thing about us is, we hold that burden of saying, hey, we're going to help everyone. And we also want to help the guys with the 680, 700 FICO score because there's minorities out there and people that are underprivileged that do have high FICO scores.
That's right.
Things who have pay their bills and have savings and things like that. So we service everyone, not just the tough loans, but we want to make sure the people that need it, we can provide it for them.
I love that. And that's in perfect alignment with the back because, again, it's about conserving all consumers, not just one, but all, regardless of their background, what their credit score is. And listen, a consumer, no one is defined by their credit score. It's a number. And so I fervently believe that everyone should have access to capital and to be able to buy a home. You touched on a few things that we are focusing on as the Black Homeownership Council for the back. We have 3 goals that we're focusing on, one of which we've already talked about, which is affordability. But another that we're bringing to the forefront is this conversation about qualifying for a home and this multi-generational purchase. Most consumers don't understand what a non-occupied family member is. So if you don't qualify by yourself, you can have a family member who can join your loan as a non-occupied family member. They don't ever have to move into the home. And it's surprising how many consumers do not know that this is a thing, that this is an option to help them qualify. And I think you said it best. If a sister and a brother, a mom and a dad, a mom and a son, mom and a daughter, whatever the case may be, but if we have multi-generational family members, like you said, you're already living together, you might as well buy a home together, right? Put your funds together, put your assets together, put your credit together, and perhaps even come out of manual underwriting and get that AUSAE, right? But this is something that I think is new to consumers. I know that EPM does a lot of training. So I want to toot y'all's horn a little bit. You guys have some white paper, you guys have some marketing, you do some training for brokers. Do you guys also have some trainings to kind of educate about this whole, multi-generational purchase power that's available?
Yeah, we bring as an organization, this is something that Eddie put together, which is our power brokers. We bring mortgage brokers into Atlanta, and I get the opportunity to have Eddie has the opportunity to speak to them about programming opportunities, the market, the world, anything that comes up. And I think these type of conversations are happening within EPM consistently. Um, One of the biggest things I learned, even when I was account executive, I had a broker that did this, and it was common, very common for this broker, for families that had kids going to college.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of paying for the dorm, instead of paying for apartment, they would be a co-signer for their kid to buy their first property, a small condo in the area where the school was. And what happens when they get out of school, they gain equity and they sell the property. So little small financial hints like this, giving people access to financial freedom long term, is where we got to start educating. And it doesn't start at adulthood. We are doing better with adults, but we got to push that down to the minority kids.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just the whole concept. Now, I'll tell a little bit about myself. My kids are grown. We have 3 grown children, 26, 27 today, and 24. And that's the very same thing that my husband and I have been educating our kids on. It's, listen, you're going to go out into the world. We'd much rather you buy for the first time instead of going, rent an apartment. And here in Texas and Dallas, you can't get an apartment for less than $1,500, $1,600 a month. Well, you can buy your own condo and spend less than that, right? So again, it all circles back to awareness. It circles back to education, right? It circles back to affordability. Affordability in buying, like you said, a condo versus going into an apartment. Why do that, right? Or, hey, siblings, put your money together and y'all go buy a house together. Guess what? In 5, 6, 7 years, you sell it, you make equity, turn around and go your separate ways. Now, again, we're changing the trajectory of the family. So I love this. So as we kind of start to wrap things up, because I know you're a very busy professional executive, I want to talk about kind of what are the goals for EPM looking into 2026? This is the time that everyone is planning. And as an organization, we're planning as well. So I want to share with you some of the goals that we have here at the back and for the Black Homeownership Council. And I'd love to know a little sneak peek of what EPM is going to be focusing on for 2026. I can tell you for the Black Homeownership Council at the back, we are going to be at Advocacy Day. So next year in April, the entire organization and our partners, we invite you out to go with us to the Capitol. And we speak to our elected officials about the passionate topics that are affecting consumers and us as brokers. I can tell you for the Black Homeownership Council, our legislative topic is affordability in the cost of insurance. The rising cost of insurance, as we're doing all the other work to help make loans affordable for customers, can just really undo that work that we've done, right? EPA, helping them qualify, and then the rising cost of insurance. So that's one of the things that we're going to, as an organization, take to the Washington, D.C. In addition, LO Comp, right? So we can't help consumers if we don't help us. So one of the very top priorities for the back is LO Comp. We're doing the work right now to talk about LO Comp and how we can make our jobs easier. If we make our jobs easier, then we can also help more consumers. So those are some of our topics, some of our goals for 2026. Talk to me about EPM. I know you guys have a conference coming up. I'd love for our viewers to know, what should we expect from EPM in 2026?
Well, we have our flagship event, which is TAG, which is going to be in June of 2026, where we bring in, brokers from around the country, some celebrity guests. We have some fun, and it's really about education and sharing good times and making memories, and also taking something back to your rightful communities to say, hey, I grew a little bit when I was in Atlanta with EPM. We learned a little about what they do, who they are. We also got to meet with some of our counterparts. So it's always a good time, a good event. The tickets will go on sale shortly. We just had a meeting about it today. So you'll start to see those tickets go on sale. So hopefully everyone can join you. And from an organizational standpoint, just more growth. We talked a lot about some of the tough loans that we do, some of the things that we provide to consumers so that they get access to capital. But it also comes a little stigma because we're known to help out those borrowers. So our mission and goal is to really change that around, because we are a lender who competes for price, speed, process. So our mantra for 2026 is better, faster, cheaper.
Love it.
So we're going to bring in the business across the board and make sure that we give everyone the opportunity to share an experience of EPM, our service, our knowledge base, and our price, and give them a better price for their consumer. We want brokers to understand that, be a broker. You have to be a broker. You have a fiduciary responsibility to your borrower to make sure you go out and find the best deal for the best price and service.
That's
And
right.
we're one of those options.
That's right.
If you're a broker and you send 90% of your business to one lender, are you doing the right thing by your borrower? Because that lender probably doesn't have 90% of best process speed for that individual borrower. So we're just trying to get ourselves out there to make sure we change the mindset of brokers saying, hey, EPM's here for you for all loans. Take advantage of us.
I love that. I love that. Better, faster, cheaper. We're going to have to adopt that. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time, especially as a broker partner for the BAC Broker Action Coalition. We are so excited to not only have you, another member of your leadership team on our council, and we look forward to doing more work with you. We look forward to sending you more business. We look forward to helping close this gap of Black homeownership in the country, but more important, doing it better, faster, and cheaper. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. This was awesome. Anything you guys need, of course, our door's always open for you, and let's close that gap.
Absolutely. Close that gap, one family at a time, one closing at a time. Thank you for joining us. And on behalf of the executive team and as the chair of the Black Homeownership Council at the BAC, thank you for joining us. And we'll see you on the next episode.